Hav.
This is the Padres Postcast, your instant game reaction for the San Diego Padres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, baby, what a night in New York City. Welcome to your Padres Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your San Diego Padres, your Manny Machado every single day. And tonight is one of those nights that you look back on a season and you think of a game like this. Manny Machado with a huge grand slam in the fifth inning. Francisco Alvarez drove you crazy with the homer for the Mets that brought it to 6-4. Of course, 3 solo homers off Nick Pivetta, and he didn't make it out of the fifth inning, giving up 3 homers in a big spot, but the bullpen came up huge 3 times tonight. Adrian Morejon with a huge strikeout coming out of the bullpen in the fifth inning, replacing Nick Pivetta, and he gets Brandon Nimmo. How about Mason Miller comes on in the 7th and strikes out Juan Soto. Soto barely misses a home run around the foul pole. He strikes him out. And then in the 9th inning, Robert Suarez also gets Juan Soto to end the game. Not a strikeout, a bullet of a line drive that happened to hit Suarez's glove, but he gets out of it. And, man, that's the script for the Padres right now. Some timely hitting, aggressive offense, even if it leads to outs on the base pass. We'll talk about that. And a whole lot of dominance out of that bullpen with some clutch hitting from guys like Manny, who's now the active career leader in grand slams in Major League Baseball. 7-4 the final in Flushing. The Padres, a huge win to push that wild card lead back up over the Mets to 5 games and keep themselves moving and crunch time. This is your Padres Postcast. Thank you for making us your first watch or listen every day, free on YouTube after the game. And then we upload, you download Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, and of course, you download OPP. No, it's OTT. It's over-the-top television. It's Roku, and it is also free. I am Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. Special guest Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres joining me right now as we get it rolling. High gear. Padres Postcast. Big night. 7-4 win over the Mets in New York. Let's go.
This is what you'll be talking about.
The way that they should, but one thing that always gives you what you want and what you should get every single time is Locked On Padres with Javier Reyes. And Javi, I can barely contain myself. I love doing the postcast for this reason. This is the biggest and best win easily of the year for the Padres. I just want to get your immediate thoughts.
Wow. So up from the top. Oh, the best win of the year. I mean, look,
So
it was a
far.
big one. It was a big one. I mean,
Yep.
it was huge. I think that if I could just have my one thing, because I haven't dove deep into some of the other numbers or any of the big takeaways, we'll be doing on the full show tomorrow for not just this game but also tomorrow's game. So the
Yes,
episode
sir.
will not be out. Just programming note: full episode of Locked On Padres will not be out until after tomorrow's game, so I can recap both. But I think my first thing is Nick Pivetta, not his strongest night. I really like that the team stepped up. I like that this is the fewest innings I believe he's gone since June. I believe, and 4 2/3, and he gives up the 3 solo shots. I just really like that the team just showed up tonight and was like, all right, just because he wasn't on, he didn't do his 6 innings. He's always a quality start guy. He's the best pitcher on the team. It's really cool that the team still stayed in there. Manny Machado with the big hit of the night. Obviously, he really needed that. He's been slow for a while, but that'd be my one takeaway, man. It'd be just just nice. I like it when they show up for their guy who didn't have his best stuff. They said, don't worry about it. Everyone has an off day. And boom, there you go. Just gonna hang on to that one, I think. And hopefully, that's the recipe for them potentially going further in the playoff bracket and whatnot.
Yeah, and the bullpen is the biggest part of that. I want to get to that with you in a minute, but it starts early, Javi, tonight. And thinking about last night with the solo homers that the Padres hit, and, they lose the opener to the Mets team that had lost 8 in a row, get the walk-off on Sunday, and I'm going, oh, crap, the Mets are about to go on a berserk spree right now, right as the Padres hit town, right? And that just figures. And you saw that in Game 1. And tonight you saw it again. The Mets hit 4 home runs. Luckily, they weren't able to do it, and Pivetta gave up a lot of hits. Luckily, they were all solo homers because I
Mhm.
still, looking back on it, don't know how they were all solo homers because they had so many hits. He just doesn't walk anybody. That's the key for Pivetta. And it starts in Little League and goes all the way up through the majors, Javi. You can't walk hitters. But the offense tonight got it going early. And like I said, we'll get to the bullpen. The bullpen won it late. But the early offense in the first inning, and Fernando went 2 for 3 tonight, right? He set the tone early for a struggling offense in that first inning, gets on base in his first at-bat, and literally he's the one who scores on Sheets' sacrifice fly. So Fernando makes that happen with Louis Arise at the top of the order, and they're up 1-0. And then your guy, not my guy, Jake Cronenworth, with an RBI single to score Jackson Merrill, who's been red hot lately. And they're up. They scored 2 runs.
And don't forget the hit by pitch too. Don't forget the hit by pitch too. He'll find a way on base one way or another, I guess. Good old Jake.
Yep. And then Pivetta gives up the homer in the first in between, but they score 2 runs in the first 2 innings. And then Manny, I said this to you as we're texting. Manny Machado's the active career leader in grand slams with 14. Now he has 2 this season.
I did not know that.
One of the biggest big-time guys of his era. And we talk about Manny being up there with the Bryce Harpers and the Mike Trouts and, maybe just a little notch below. And it's not a stretch because Manny's that great. But you cannot throw Manny Machado the same exact pitch in the same exact location at the same exact speed 3 times in one AB. That's suicide, man. And they found out the hard way. But Manny coming through in the clutch with the huge home run tonight. Fernando coming through with the 2 hits. The superstars getting it done, Javi. That's what we need to see right now, and they did it tonight.
Absolutely, man. And I like what you brought up. Just like you cannot be throwing the same pitch in the same kind of spot, right? He threw a changeup, then a sinker, and the curveball. But so yeah, it had a little bit of the same, little bit of decent movement, but it was all kind of that bottom half of the plate. It reminded me to a lesser extent of when the Yankees were playing the Padres in Yankee Stadium when Jason Adam threw, I believe, 3 straight changeups. And the latter 2 were in the same spot. And then what happens? Grisham launches it. They end up winning the game. Like, that's always a bad sign. So at least David Peterson, he did change up clearly the type of pitches that he was using. But overall, I get it, though, at the same time, because Manny hadn't been until this Colorado weekend.
Oh, the foul ball was a sinker. That's what it was. Okay.
It was a sinker?
Ball, yeah.
Maybe it was considered something else, though. Like, it might. I'm with you, though. I thought it was the same pitch. I'm only looking on the
curve for the homer, and the sinker was the pitch before it. So he threw the curve twice and the sinker once. You're right. I'm wrong. But the curve was the ball on the first pitch and then the home run. And
this is why I gotta dive deep, right? Because I thought it was. Because
he barely missed it when he fouled it off. Like you saw Manny's face when he fouled it off, right? He's like, "Yeah, oh, man!" And then he just gave him a gift.
You could tell. I like what he's not in that mood right now because he hasn't been playing as well. But I love when you just see him maybe you get him to swing and miss on something that's like high in middle of the zone. You beat him with a heater, and then he's giving you props or whatever. That he needs to get his swagger back, and hopefully I think a grand slam like this can help him do that because he really has had like a horrid start, even so bad that Luis Reyes, who's been very bad for a while now, with the exception obviously of the last couple games, 2 for 4 night for him. Love to see that.
Bad base running move though. That was awful base running move by Reyes, trying to turn that into a double before Diaz scored. That's bad.
And
that's
Manny
really
telling Diaz to hold up, like, don't worry about it, you're good. Classic Mr. No Hustle Machado, right? So he's going to get flack for that, I'm sure. But just an unfortunate attempt by Reyes there for what was going to be an RBI, but then he stretches it out. Game could go differently. But thankfully, I like that. Not only did Pivetta have a bad day and they picked him up for that, Reyes didn't have a bad day, but he had a bad moment there that potentially gets, I think, extrapolated larger amongst the Friar faithful if they end up losing this game. But thankfully they didn't.
Yeah, and you look, Fernando 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored and 2 walks, by the way, on base 4 times. And you're not going to lose many games when he does that. Arise 2 for 4. Manny 3 for 5 with the grand slam. Laureano 2 for 4 with the insurance homer in the 9th inning that made it huge. And Soto still came up as the dang tying run. And then also Jackson Merrill stayed hot. 2 more hits for him tonight. And I read a couple numbers on him last night in his last 10 games before tonight. I mean, the extra base hits, the homers, the slug was just off the charts berserk. And that
he's slugging like 800 over his last
that had been missing all year for Jackson. It's just happening now.
It's big. It's big. And better late than never. I really did not feel like watching Jackson Merrill all year that I was like, oh no, it was a fluke. Instead, my vibe was, this is what happens in baseball. Like, teams figured out what he does. He's super talented. He'll figure it out. But it's just classic sophomore slump. I'm not worried over the long term for a player like him. I just think that this could be a year where he's just kind of figuring things out. They knew he doesn't walk, so that makes it a little bit harder for him, but improve his walk rate a little bit. He's making good contact. He's getting better. And he's also just been hurt a lot, right? Like little, just tiny injuries every time it feels like he might be figuring it out. So I'm not worried about Merrill in the long term. But for this year, I was worried. But now that he's, hitting into a hot streak, if he can carry this into the postseason, that's a big piece for this Padres team to potentially keep up with what might be the Chicago Cubs offense that they might be facing in round one. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And the Cubs clinched the playoffs today for the first time in 5 years. That's Javier Reyes, Jim Grieshaber, call me Gries, Padres postcast and podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And Javi's not going to have an episode up for a day and a half or so. So I just want to keep you for like a minute or two more because, and I don't want to lump all three of these together because each of them was spectacular in its own right. But the performances tonight of Robert Suarez in the 9th inning, Adrian Morejon in the 5th inning, I'll start with those. Morejon comes on in the 5th inning, and Pavetta's pissed, and rightfully so, but he had already given up 3 solo homers.
Yeah.
He had just given up a homer in the 5th, right? So guy gets on base hit, and coming to the plate is a lefty who's really tough, and is a Nimmo, in big spots, and Morejon comes on and strikes him out. I thought that was magnificent, so I just want to leave that by itself to get your thoughts on Morejon before I move on to Suarez, and then we'll get to the real star of the show after that.
I mean, Morejon is a guy that if he were entering free agency, which he isn't until I believe after next year, this is probably a guy that gets you like an $80 million deal for a reliever. Like that's how good he's been. He's been one of the best relievers in all of baseball. Dare I say before Miller, obviously, probably the best reliever on the team, just talent wise, what he's been doing. And he was really underrated and great last year too. He's been a stud. And also what I love is I don't know about you, but I've never seen a pitcher who looks more nervous that's so good. You know what I mean? He always looks gassed. And I was actually watching this with my mom, and she was like, he smiled like when he's getting off the mound. And I was like, that's a good point. He always just looks like the only emotion he shows is if he messes up a little bit, which I guess he's just got that gamer attitude. But it's just funny. Like he reacts like a guy who has a 4.2 ERA and gets hit for home runs. Instead, he leaves the mound, and it's like he gave up like one foul ball, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? He's just been so automatic this year. And we love him. We love him, and he's been a big part of the reason why this team has been good.
12-5. And he came out and pitched the next inning too, by the way. And then I want to hit on Suarez in the 9th. He slammed the door, made it a carnival ride like he sometimes does or often does this year with the 5 blown saves, the loss last week. But he faces Juan Soto as the tying run in the bottom of the 9th inning, and he got the job done. It didn't look pretty, but he got the job done.
He got the job done. He just had a 2-month stretch, and then August and June, he was excellent. I just think that, don't get me wrong. Like, I actually think Soto hit the crap out of that ball. Just happened to go right to Suarez, which is great. But it's just worth bringing up, 100.5 miles per hour off the bat, which I'm looking at right now. 520 expected batting average. These are the reasons we get nervous. Like, he got the job done. But you're right to be nervous sometimes with Suarez because he can give up some hard contact. And when you're facing those big bad hitters, sometimes you're like, maybe in the postseason, I'm curious, it might behoove Mike Schilt to be like, maybe if, let's say they're playing Philly and it's the 8th inning and it's like there's 6, 7, and 8 hitters are up. Maybe you say, you know what? Let's actually bring in Suarez now. If they don't do that, I don't hate it because this year Robert Suarez is a 3.85 ERA as opposed to a low 2 ERA in save versus non-save. So he literally hasn't been as good in non-save situations. So maybe Schilt's like, you know what? I don't want to take him out of his groove. He's literally better in the 9th inning in a save situation. But in the future, potentially, it might be something to look at to be like, maybe you not a closer by committee, but you're like, depending on the matchups, maybe let's just have Miller go up against Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, or in this case, in what might be round one, your whoever the heck they have on that team, say a Suzuki, Pete Armstrong, all those guys. Maybe you bring in a Miller there, but it all depends. Bottom line is, man, a lot of teams would kill to have Robert Suarez though, and the fact that we're arguing like he might be the 3rd best reliever on this team, that's how you know this bullpen is just absolutely stacked.
Yeah, and don't forget Jason Adam out for the year, right? And really could have used him tonight. Why? Because Jeremiah Estrada's really been struggling. Brings him in. Alvarez hits the homer. And, I just want to say before I get to the Estrada thing, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on that, but Morejon, an inning and a third, 2 strikeouts, no hits. Suarez, an inning as well with just 1 hit. So they were lights out, as was Miller, an inning and 2/3 with nothing. So all 3 of those guys were absolutely lights out. Estrada gave up the home run that made it 6-4. And with the base running gaff by Luis Reyes costing them a run, it should have been 7-3, ends up being 6-4. And everybody's getting real tight until Ramon Laureano hits the homer. But what Mason Miller did tonight, Javi, I know Estrada's been having troubles, and Schilt didn't have Adam to go to there, and that was a big part of the game where you would have loved to have had Jason Adam. But what Mason Miller did, he comes on. Now, Estrada gives up the home run, then he gives up a walk. Mason Miller comes on with a runner on first base, okay, in the bottom of the 7th inning, and Juan Soto, lefty-righty matchup, coming to the plate, maybe the best clutch hitter, one of them, without a doubt, in Major League Baseball. And then, of course, Alonso on deck, who's been just murdering the ball lately, back-to-back, gets Soto striking out looking, gets Alonso swinging, and that's just what Miller's been doing. And for good measures, he comes out and gives you a 1-2-3-8.
I will say that foul ball was scary. Soto going opposite field. It was that close, so I have to admit, but that's just what happens when you get the two best, right? One will.
And that was a great pitch by Miller that Soto hit too. Unbelievable.
You replay that 100 times, you could argue it's just 50-50. Half of those Soto gets the hit, half of those Miller strikes him out, whatever one. But it's just, I mean, that's baseball, man. Like, that's just, you love to see it. And I agree with you where it's like playoff atmosphere vibe.
Playoffs. They got Soto twice with the game on the line. That's playoff baseball.
Yeah, it's really good stuff, man. But I agree, 150%, man. Just really great. And I also agree that Estrada has been struggling to the point where you're missing Jason Adam more and more with the way that Estrada's been struggling. In August, he had an ERA of 4.73, and September through just 5 2/3. And this is just before this last night, by the way, 7.94 ERA. He's been basically like in June, he had a 5.4. And then in July, it's like, okay, we're good. He literally gave up 0 earned runs in all of July
for a while.
Right? And then to start the year, 2.8 ERA, basically, through April and May. He was great. And I still trust the talent. I really do. Like, he's getting a lot of swings and misses, but he at least gives up a hit basically every outing. And when he gets hit, he's getting hit hard for like 4 earned runs. Suarez, it's usually like a couple hits, maybe get through, or he walks one, gives up the game-tying home run like he did last week. But Estrada, I'm not worried, but it is one of those things where you're really remembering the Jason Adam absence more lately, where you're like, there are times when I'm like, man, it might be better to have him a little bit now, but hopefully he figures it out, at least closes out the month strong. That way, heading into the postseason, you're like, this is still a guy that we're not going to trust in the 8th or 9th inning necessarily, but at least someone 7th, get some swings and misses. This is still a guy that at one point, what did he strike out 17 straight batters last year? Something crazy when he made his debut. So the talent is crazy, but admittedly, part of it is projecting on my part. A lot of it is just what I think he can be. But right now, unlike Suarez, I think Suarez just right now is solid. Estrada, I think Estrada's got like as much potential as any reliever in the sport, but he's been struggling. He's been struggling. I'm wondering if the Dodgers game threw him off. You know, that when he get
the home run, he gave
the
up
last Dodgers series when he gave up runs in both appearances. Did that like scramble his brain? Because he hasn't been the same since then. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and it's great, though, to get that win tonight. And obviously to win this series tomorrow would be huge. You go to Chicago, you get a gift from the scheduling gods. You get the White Sox, and then you get the Brewers and the Diamondbacks. Both teams, Brewers fighting for home field in first place with the Phillies. Diamondbacks still nipping at the Mets' heels for that 3rd wild card. So no give-me's here on out after that Chicago series. And even then, you know, those teams that don't have a lot to play for, the Reds won the series against the Padres, and of course the Twins did too. It's just been tough, and the Orioles series that we looked at initially and thought you'd win the series didn't work out that way. But at least this team's starting to come together. And if what we saw from Manny and Fernando tonight, along with the dominance of the bullpen, hey, this Padres team is as good as any team still standing. And we'll see what happens, Javi. But I know this, and I know you got to run. You're going to have some great shows coming up here in the near future. And the next one, will be after tomorrow night's game, right?
Yes, after tomorrow afternoon's game, actually. 1:30.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to do it, because I figured, the episode, it'll be out at like 10, and then there's a game in 2 hours. Let me give people both stuff. So going to be talking about that. I don't know what the third topic will be. And then Friday, Jake Ariani will be back on the show for just a fun Friday show. Talk a little bit about the White Sox, but mostly just some fun topics like, who have you changed your opinion on for the Padres? Who have you grown a greater appreciation for over the course of this season, especially as compared to previous years? So I'm curious to see what he says on everybody. I think people who follow the show might know who I'm going to say, but I'll leave that for a spoiler free for Friday's episode.
All right. Well, Edgar says, whoa, doubleheader post game. Thanks, boys. You're welcome, Edgar. And that's really a thank you to Javi, not me, because I would have been here anyway. This is him coming to show up for all of you and for me. So thank you, brother. And we will talk to you. I'll talk to you soon, but we'll be seeing a lot of you coming up in the days ahead.
Absolutely. Especially over the next week. I mean, I got to be on the postcast at least every playoff game. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm going to be doing everything. I'll be on more and more. It's a tricky weekend for me lately, so it's been a little bit tough. But Jim is killing it. Can't wait to see what you do going forward as well for the rest of the series and rest of all the series. It's been a blast, man. So go Pods.
Appreciate you, brother. God bless you. Thanks for coming on. Javier Reyes of Padres Podcast, Locked On Padres Podcast, right here with me, Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. I have to take a break before they fire me. They might not let me finish the show. Good Lord. I thought that I'm looking at the clock going, wait, where did those 15 minutes go? I am sorry to all of those that were looking for the spots, but I will tell you this. That's great content from Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres Podcast. Jim Grieshaber, call me Gries. I better do a commercial or I'm a dead man. All right. So first things first, I Gries, freaks all the honeys, dummies, Playboy bunnies, those wanting money. And I will tell you this, man, I am very excited tonight. Very, very excited for the Padres and this win, and just so excited because I always have action on the action too. And this is something that you should always do. We talk about this all the time right here on the show. Why? Because they are full of great deals, full of excitement and adventure and action. And they are, of course, Prize Picks. This episode brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means everything. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. You just pick more or less with 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. Again, more or less on player projections. You know what I'm saying? Like Josh Allen for more or less than 270 passing yards, or Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing yard. Come on, right? Easy money. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play with Prize Picks. It's good to be right. On the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Next up, we have tonight's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Now, this is something that I really love. It's near and dear to my heart, Monarch Money, because most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k, whether it's properties, investments. And when you don't have the full picture, what happens, right? You are going to end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool, Monarch Money, that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like you, like me. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. You can use it with a spouse. You can use it with a financial partner. You can use it easily for your taxes. It keeps everything organized, neat, clean, and finally, you will feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And for guys like me and people like you, I'm sure that works for you like it does for me. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And one more for you here, and we have got, yeah, baby, this is the one right here, because you know nothing beats going to a Major League Baseball game live. Nothing beats going to Petco. The Pods are balling out right now. Got some big games coming up. Brew Crew, D-backs to finish the season. Then playoffs, baby. Playoffs. You know, the energy, the crowd, the chance to see the Pods in person, but getting tickets, hey, that's sometimes the tough part, right? Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time. I'm in love with it. The app gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app makes it super simple. I can see views from my seats before I buy. The fees are included, so you never get surprises at checkout. You get zone deals. They pick the seats, you pick the area of the stadium that you want to be in. It's faster, cheaper, less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So download the Game Time app now, today, tonight, right now. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Grieshaber, call me Gries. Baby. 7-4 Padres with the big dub tonight. Fernando sets the tone, goes 2 for 3 with 2 walks, on base 4 times, scores a bunch of times, including the first inning. Cronenworth drives one in the second. Big start for the Pods. They're up 2-1 into the third inning. Manny smashes a grand slam in the 5th, and they would need all of it because Nick Pivetta gave up 3 homers. Jeremiah Estrada gave up a homer, but Adrian Morejon comes onto the 5th, strikes out Brandon Nimmo in a huge spot with a runner on first, coming on for Pivetta, who couldn't get the win tonight. Morejon got the win to go to 12-5. Mason Miller came on after Estrada, runner on first, Juan Soto at the dish in a 2-run lead. Runner steals second. Soto barely misses a home run. It hooks just in front of the left field fair pole. It's not a foul pole. It's a fair pole. Why is it a fair pole? I'm glad you asked, because when a home run hits it, what is it? Foul or fair? It is the fair pole. Thank you. Just curved in front of it, right? Misses, and Soto's laughing. Laugh all you want, because you're about to be frozen stiff, baby, like Han Solo in The Empire Strikes Back when that backdoor slider came beautifully across the outside corner from Mason Miller. Right there, that's your turning point of your game tonight. You can talk about Manny's grand slam, but the strikeout of Soto from Miller, and then back-to-back, he strikes out Alonso swinging. Back-to-back strikeouts of Soto and Alonso, plus a 1-2-3/8 for Miller, and that is your turning point, and he's the star of the game along with Manny Machado, 3 hits, including the grand slam, and that, my friend, is your Padres Postcast. I am Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. Don't forget Javi every day with the podcast, myself with the Postcast, YouTube, and then after that show live, we upload, you download Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, and Roku. All free. FREE. Baby, some big content, huge shows coming up. Don't forget Locked On MLB Game Night, Locked On MLB on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Every game, every night, local analysis on a national scale until someone holds up the World Series Championship trophy. Early start tomorrow on the left coast, 10-10 in San Diego, as they look to win this series. Crucial to win this game. Head to Chicago. You got, Randy Vasquez. He was great last time out, Randy Vasquez, and he will pitch tomorrow. 7-4 Pods with maybe their biggest win of the season. Jim Grieshaber, call me Gries. Thank you so much for being here for your Padres Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now go on, get out of here. Keep your game tight and your mind right, baby. Go Pods. 7-4 the win. Don't forget tomorrow, 10-10 first pitch. We're here right after with your Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network.